everyone. I hope that everyone's doing well. Lately it seems that every ancient text or book that I find and listen to or read, it's talking about your chakras, the sacred secretion, kundalini, divine energy, whatever name that you want to put on it. But absolutely every religion and all ancient texts describe the same thing. I'm going to do a little video here on the book of Hermas, which is in the forbidden books of the Bible that we weren't allowed to have. So any questions or comments or anything are very welcome. Please feel free to comment below or even email me. The link is in the description box. I would like a very quick remark before I start here about a few videos, the past few videos that I've done. Actually, the one last night, I'm getting a lot of comments from viewers saying that you're not really able to hear the audio, me speaking that well. And again, I apologize, but I'm utilizing what I have access to at the moment, and I can only ask people just to bear with me. As the channel grows, with the help and support through donations of its viewers, hopefully the content, the audio, the video, it'll all improve and progress as well. Which, you know what, I'm not sure if she wanted me to say anything, but I'm going to give a public shout out since I'm speaking about the subject. I'd like to thank the one subscriber that has donated to the channel towards the uploads. Since a couple of months ago, I put the link in started putting the link in. It's been a little while, but she did send a small donation, but it meant everything to me, and I'd just like to say thank you, Marie, once again for your donation. It came in a perfect timing. I did utilize it towards some well-needed bills. Towards it was channel related. So I thank you very much for that, and I know it'll come back to you, hon. I know that you didn't have it to give, but it'll come back to you sevenfold. I'm absolutely sure of it. And also, since I'm speaking on it, there's a couple of other people. There's two people in particular who said that they wish that they could donate something, but neither of them have the means. And they're both just like myself. They're single people. They don't have income. They're on a fixed income or no income. So I do want to say that I appreciate the sentiment. It's okay. But just hang in there, guys. As the channel grows, the videos will get better, and the equipment that I'm using it'll get better as well. Now on to the book of Hermas. Please pay attention to these. This is actually talking about the 12 chakras. And again, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section below.
But now thou art enlightened by the angel, and yet by the same Spirit. But thou must consider all things diligently, for therefore am I sent into thy house by that venerable messenger, that when thou shalt have seen all things powerfully, thou mayest not be afraid as before. And he led me to the height of a mountain in Arcadia, and we sat upon its top. And he showed me a great plain, and about it 12 mountains in different figures. The first was black as soot, the second was smooth, without herbs, the third was full of thorns and thistles, the fourth had herbs half dried, of which the upper part was green, but that next the root was dry, and some of the herbs, when the sun grew hot, were dry. The fifth mountain was very rugged, but yet had green herbs. The 6th mountain was full of clefts, some lesser and some greater, and in these clefts grew grass, not flourishing, but which seemed to be withering. The 7th mountain had delightful pasture, and was wholly fruitful, and all kinds of cattle and of the birds of heaven fed upon it. And the more they fed on it, the more and better did the grass grow. The 8th mountain was full of fountains, and from the fountains were watered all kinds of creatures of God. The 9th mountain had no water at all, but was wholly destitute of it, and nourished deadly serpents, very destructive to men. The 10th mountain was full of tall trees, and together shady, and under the shade of them lay cattle resting and chewing the cud. The 11th mountain was full of the thickest trees, and those trees seemed to be loaded with several sorts of fruit, that whosoever saw them could not choose but desire to eat of their fruit. The 12th mountain was altogether white, and of a most pleasant aspect, and itself gave a most excellent beauty to itself. In the middle of the plain he showed me a huge white rock, which rose out of the plain, and the rock was higher than those mountains, and was square, so that it seemed capable of supporting the whole world. It looked to me to be old, yet it had in it a new gate, which seemed to have been newly hewn out of it. Now that gate was bright beyond the sun itself, insomuch that I greatly wondered at its light. About the gate stood 12 virgins, of which 4 that stood at the corners of the gate seemed to me to be the chiefest, although the rest were also of worth, and they stood in the 4 parts of the gate. It added also to the grace of those virgins that they stood in pairs, clothed with linen garments, and decently girded, their right arms being at liberty, as if they were about to lift up some burden, for they were adorned, and were exceedingly cheerful and ready. When I saw this, I wondered with myself to see such great and noble things, and again I admired upon the account of those virgins, that they were so handsome and delicate, and stood with such firmness and constancy, as if they would carry the whole heaven. And as I was thinking thus within myself, the shepherd said unto me, What thinkest thou within thyself? Why art thou disquieted, and fillest thyself with care? Do not seem to consider as if thou wert wise, what thou doest not understand, but pray unto the Lord that thou mayest have ability to understand it. What is to come thou canst not understand, but thou seest that which is before thee. Be not therefore disquieted at those things which thou canst not see, but get the understanding of those which thou seest. Forbear to be curious, and I will show thee all things that I ought to declare unto thee, but first consider what yet remains. And when he had said this unto me, I looked up, and behold, I saw 6 tall and venerable men coming. Their countenances were all alike, and they called a certain multitude of men, and they who came at their call were also tall and stout. And those 6 commanded them to build a certain tower over that gate. And immediately there began to be a great noise of those men running here and there about the gate, who were coming together to build the tower. But those virgins which stood about the gate perceived that the building of the tower was to be hastened by them, and they stretched out their hands as if they were to receive somewhat from them to do. Then those 6 men commanded that they should lift up stones out of a certain deep place, and prepare them for the building of the tower. And there were lifted up 10 white stones, square and not cut round. Then those 6 men called the 10 virgins to them, and commanded them to carry all the stones that were to be put into the building, and having carried them through the gate, to deliver them to those that were about to build the tower. Immediately the virgins began all of them together to lift up those stones that were before taken out of the deep. And they who also stood about the gate did carry stones in such a manner, that those stones which seemed to be the strongest were laid at the corners, and the rest were put into the sides. And thus they carried all the stones, and bringing them through the gate delivered them to the builders, as they had been commanded. who receiving them at their hands built with them. But this building was made upon that great rock, and over the gate, and by these the whole tower was supported. But the building of the 10 stones filled the whole gate, which began to be made for the foundation of that tower. And after those 10 stones did 25 others rise up out of the deep, and these were placed in the building of the same tower, being lifted up by those virgins as the others had been before. After these did 35 others rise up, and these were also in like manner fitted into the same work. Then 40 other stones were brought up, and all these were added unto the building of that tower. So there began to be 4 ranks in the foundation of that tower, and the stones ceased to rise out of the deep, and they also which built rested a little. Again those 6 men commanded the multitude that they should bring stones out of those 12 mountains to the building of the same tower. So they cut out all of the mountains stones of diverse colors, and brought them and gave them to the virgins, which when they had received, they carried them and delivered them into the building of the tower. In which when they were built, they became white, and different from what they were before, for they were all alike, and did change their former colors. And some were reached up by the men themselves, which when they came into the building, continued such as they were put in. These neither became white nor different from what they were before, because they were not carried by the virgins through the gate. Wherefore these stones were disagreeable in the building, which when these 6 men perceived, they commanded them to be removed, and put again in the place from which they were brought. And they said to those who brought up these stones, Do not ye reach up to us any stones for this building, but lay them down by the tower, that these virgins may carry them and reach them to us. For unless they shall be carried by these virgins through this gate, they cannot change their colors. Therefore do not labor in vain. So the building that day was done, howbeit the tower was not finished, for it was afterwards to be built. Therefore now also there was some delay made of it. And these 6 men commanded those that built to depart, and as it were to rest for some time. But they ordered those virgins that they should not depart from the tower, so now they seemed to me to be left for the guarding of it. When all were departed, I said unto the shepherd, Sir, why is not the building of the tower finished? Because it cannot, said he, be finished until its Lord comes and approves of the building, that if he shall find any stones in it that are not good, they may be changed.